Greetings from, where exactly am I? I'm actually just outside of Brussels in Belgium. Just arrived here visiting family and friends. Just arrived here from Budapest yesterday. Have been using Budapest as a base for the summer here before going back to the Middle East, where I work as an English instructor and education technologist in one of the universities in the Gulf region. My name is Jim Buckingham, and thanks for taking the time out to join me. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. I'm using my daughter's computer, and I've noticed a bit of a lag here. So everything that's happening right now is being recorded, and there's some important links that I'm going to share with you. Probably the most important one is the document, which is listed in the showcase area. You might want to look at that. My key objective here is to really promote interaction, to stimulate some discussion on the topic of badges and your professional development. So it's really important that I get all of each and every one of you to participate and contribute to this event. Give people a few more minutes here, those who are interested in joining us. While we're waiting for that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been working in education technology for, wow, at least 25 years. I originally worked in the arts, promoting art education, and it was then that I was introduced to computers and the use of computers for visual design, doing a lot of work in designing art programs for children in the community center, inviting them to use technology to do so. Great to see people coming in. Welcome aboard. I invite you to take in the, if you could, go to the collaborative documents. I'm really encouraging some discussion from all of us, and I'll get started here shortly. Key thing right now is making sure that you can hear me. If you can acknowledge that with a thumbs up, I would appreciate that. There's also a question in the Q&A inviting you to answer a question. How do you pursue your PD? How do you do that now? Are you doing that on your own, or are you doing that primarily with the help of the direction of your employer? This also invites you to use the various tools within Google Hangout before we begin. Now, worst case scenario here, if you cannot hear me, you can still probably follow along. I would using the chat function. Let's see if I can set that up here. There's a chat function. Yes, just set up a comments, so the group chat section there. If for whatever reason the audio portion of this doesn't work, then we'll have to use the group chat as a backup. Could I ask you to just introduce yourself in that chat section, so I've got some indication that you're here, you're connected, and you're hearing me? If you happen to not be hearing me, then I'm not likely going to know that otherwise. Great, thanks, Jackie. Got your question there. I'll see what I can do to address that. I think this will be really useful to you. I can speak to you about the work that I've done in using badges to promote professional development within a professional organization in the Arab Gulf. I'm working on promoting the use of badges to promote self-directed professional development for EFL instructors throughout the MENA region. That's the end game, and I can show you some of that work that I have done. It's good for me to know the background of some of you coming in here, so I can tailor what I've got to present to you, and then we can engage in some discussion here. Welcome aboard, Derek. I'm assuming you can all hear me. What I don't want to have happen is that this simply be a presentation. I'm really keen to get your involvement, so it would be helpful for me to know your backgrounds so that I can tailor what I've got to say or what I've got to share with you to helping address those things. Wow, you're up early, Jackie. I'm assuming you're in New York. Derek, you're in West Virginia. You're up early too, on a Saturday morning, no less. Okay. Okay, let me begin then. I'm going to share with you a couple of resources that I'm really keen for you to access and to contribute to. Let's see if I can pull those up. In the showcase section, if you're not familiar with the showcase section, go to the Hangouts app, take your cursor and take it to the left side of the screen, and what should emerge are a number of icons on the left. You could take the third one down, it's listed as showcase, click on that. You should see a number of items that I've listed here that I'm making available to you to have a look at. The most important one is probably the third one down, listed as ECG 2016. And it's a Google Doc that I've created, hoping that we can collaborate with. Why don't I do a screen share with you with that? Where's the other here? Where'd you go? Yikes. There we go. Yeah, that's great. I see some of you are there right now. Great. Okay, so what I'm really keen to focus on here, if you scroll down on that Google document, I'll introduce you a few resources to begin with here. The first item there is the ECG 2016 badges doc. This is the one that we've got open at the moment. The second one is an Etherpad, which is sort of an outline. I see some of you are there already. Great. And then thirdly is a SlideShare presentation that I made and presented at a conference over here in the Gulf last year on promoting professional development with digital badges. Let's have a look at the first one for a moment here. That's the one that I've got open here, digital badges to promote professional development. This is really what I'm aiming to focus on with the presentation and look at options that are available to you as an educator to pursue self-directed PD and gain some recognition for your work via the earning of digital badges. And then some of the possibilities here include Bloomberg, MOOCs. There are also various online sites that are promoting courses, Coursera, etc. My background, let me begin by sharing with you my own set of badges that I've earned for professional development. I have a portfolio of them. If you see my name on this Google Doc, you open that up and you can explore the badges that I've earned. Here, perhaps what I should be doing to help you along here is using the shared screen function here. So those of you that are coming late will know what's going on here. Where are you? No, it's not doing it for me right now. Take a moment to have a look at the badges that I've got listed there. Probably the one that you'll be most interested in is the Blended Learning Designer 2016 badge that was earned thanks to the University of Central Florida and EDUCAUSE. They presented an annual program on how to develop blended learning. If you click on that badge, you'll be able to see a few basics of badges. For those of you that are not familiar with badges, I think this will be really, really useful. So we've got we should see badge details. And I'm going to try this screen sharing here, but I'm going to put my whole screen up. If I disappear on you, whoops, don't want to be doing that. It's okay. Thank you, Derek. Good point. I agree. The difficulty I'm having right now, people, is not knowing enough of your background. So I'll go on a bit of a run here, and then hopefully this has some relevance to you. I'm a big believer that the days of professional development being passive, where you go and you sign up for something and you sit in a chair and you listen to somebody make a broadcast information to you and then follow that with a question and answer session, are doomed. They're basically the effectiveness of these sorts of presentations. There's a fair bit of research available already saying that the likelihood of this making an impact on professional development at a broad scale is such that it really impacts on an educator and their students is suspect. What really has to take place, I'm a big believer of it. The research is there suggesting that professional development needs to be much more active. It needs to be engaging, and it needs to be relevant. It needs to be relevant to you as an educator. And it also has to be done on a consistent basis. It can't be a flash in the pan thing. Explore a topic for 1 hour and then on to the next. I call it the smorgasbord approach. You take a sampling of everything, and then what you had earlier in the day has long since been forgotten. Perhaps pursued. The other problem with professional development is it's typically not being recognized. If one is going to invest a fair bit of time into one's professional development, the likelihood of it being recognized in the old format largely non-existent. That's been my experience of this. Digital badges offer an alternative to that. You can still be pursuing professional development as an educator, self-directed. You could be hunting out things that are of interest to you on the net. And better yet, if you can document how you've taken what you've learned, wherever you found it, on the net or even off the net or through a book or whatever, but documenting it digitally such that it can be shared with your peers, with your supervisor, with an agency or an association. It's possible that that could be aligned with earning a given badge so that you can be recognized for that work. And then once you have that badge, you've got options here again for posting that badge with so that it's available to friends, family, colleagues, peers, even your employer, and potentially even your future employer. And these badges can be accumulated to actually build up a profile of what it is you've done in terms of your professional development. And someone can actually see, and you in fact can see, your own progress in your professional development. You can also see perhaps a pathway that you hadn't seen before, which can offer you some directions as to what you'd like to do in the future. You have identified an interest, you've identified perhaps the development of an expertise, and then others begin to see it, and they may seek you out as an expert on that item, or wish to even network with you to form a community of people with similar interests, and it can move on. It can move on from there. That's sort of the vision of it. Let's see. I'm struggling here with hearing myself and not getting much in the way of feedback. I'm hoping that's of interest to you. Let's see what else I can share with you here. But before I go any further, I've asked a key question of you. Just how do you go about pursuing your PD right now? I'm really curious to know what do you do? Are you working basically on your own, or are you basically looking at using what's provided by either your supervisor or by your employer, or that might be, or through an association? If you could answer that in the questions section, I'd be really interested. While you're doing that, I'll be reading the questions to get some idea of what it is you're interested in. Interesting. Thanks, Kimberly. Boy, you're wide awake then, Jackie. Thanks, Derek. That's encouraging. Well, I haven't seen anything more come up here, so I'm going to move along with another question. So I'm assuming that you're reflecting on this. What are you doing now for professional development? How do you go about pursuing it? Key thing for me here is that I'm hoping that you're engaging in identifying your interests, your professional development interests, that you're more actively engaged in professional development. And that's likely to be more intrinsic, but you may also be encouraged to do this because of promotional opportunities or the identification of a long-term career path that you're looking to pursue. So you're choosing options to address your overall career path. My second question to you is, how do you go about finding your PD now? I'll put that question to you. Let's see. I think I'm getting the hang of this Google Hangout. I'm not accustomed to using it either. Okay, I'm looking at Derek's comment here. I could be wrong. I imagine if we're in attendance, most of us are likely Twitter users. We've obviously heard about edCamp Global, so we've probably attended edCamps. And likely that many here are already directing their own, their own learning. I think that's what I'm expecting. There, Derek, thank you. I'll see what I can do, Kimberly. My focus won't be so much on digital badging as it will be on professional development. Yes, finding PD through Twitter, edCamps, etc. How do you get some continuity with this, folks? How do you discipline yourself to pursue an interest? Or are you finding yourself being easily distracted and pursuing any variety of things here? There's a really great question that's come up here, a comment made by Derek. I'm hoping the rest of you have seen it. Can digital badges empower non-connected educators to tap into the 24/7 on-demand learning opportunities that exist via edtech? That's a struggle in his area. Educators don't want to do it, though they agree that district-provided PD doesn't maintain relevance. That's a brilliant observation. Why do educators not want to do it? Begs the question. And why isn't the current professional development that's being provided aligned with the needs of the educators? That's the two questions that seem to emerge out of that for me, Derek. Why don't educators want to do it? I suspect that they're already time starved, energy starved, and there's few motivation. There's hardly much motivation being provided by either through their employer or association or whatever to invite them to invest the amount of time and energy that may be required to realize something that would be fruitful. By and large, it's intrinsically motivated, and it takes a great deal of willpower to do it. And I think that's the attraction with badges, is that the badges provide some sort of a recognition of, and some sort of recognition of one's efforts to engage in self-directed PD. Now, for those of you that may not be so familiar with badges, one of the selling points of a badge from an educator's point of view is how the evidence that's produced, always in a digital form, can be baked or linked, if you like, directly to the badge. And perhaps what I need to go into here is just how this whole badge process works. I don't want to go into great detail. We'll take the better part of the presentation. But it may be interesting for you to know that this is one of the big game changers in education, or suggested game changers in education, is how this business of credentialing or crediting somebody for their work is in some ways being more, but the potential exists for more of it to be divorced from the educator, the provider of the instruction. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is people issuing the badges do not necessarily have to be the same people who are doing the educating or the training or the development of the curriculum that leads up to earning a badge. Why is that? Why is that relevant? I think it's really, really relevant to why is it really, really relevant? Here, I'll give you an example of it. One of the problems in the United States today is how the number of high school students prepared for working in the work world is seen as a problem. And yet there are a number of jobs going unfilled, which the Manufacturing Institute comes to mind, the manufacturing industry comes to mind, where they're having a difficult time finding people that can work in today's manufacturing. They're looking to find high school students, and apparently I read a statistic of well over 2 million jobs are going unfilled right now in the United States in the manufacturing sector because they don't find the typical high school student ready to go into manufacturing because they really don't know their skill set. So what's happening is the Manufacturing Institute of the United States is looking to encourage high schools throughout the United States to have students engaged in developing self-directed learning, self-directed professional development of a sort, where they can evidence their work and evidence their interests and identify skills that would enable them, make them better prepared to go into something like the manufacturing industry. So badges are being developed by the Manufacturing Institute. The Manufacturing Institute is actively engaged in marketing these to high schools of various districts around the United States in an effort to convince educators to then engage in designing instruction that will not only address the curriculum needs of the region or the district, but the needs of potentially of the Manufacturing Institute. So now here we have an example of how badges are being designed by an end user who's not engaged in the actual design of instruction, but is actively engaged in setting out a set of criteria that's promoting educators to do that. And I think that's the same sort of scenario that exists for you and I as educators. To have people, have us being encouraged to engage in professional development and evidencing our work, and then discovering that in fact that work can be used to earn credit or some sort of a credential that's recognized. It could be within the school, it could be within the region, it could be within the country, it could even be international. And that's the kind of thing that I think we really need to be aware of. It's the ability for this sort of thing to help promote self-directed learning. Now, I'm just looking at some of the questions here, see if I can get through some of these. I really would encourage some of you to make comment on some of the things that I've said too. I'm just looking at Derek's comment again here. I'm hoping that badges restructure what the district considers to be PD. Yes, I would say that you and I should be driving what the districts need to be providing in the way of professional development, and it should be possible more and more with the availability of technology to make it possible for people to collaborate and make that professional development a lot more meaningful. And at the same time, if the district is sponsoring it, having some say and having some input as well to addressing their immediate needs. So it should be collaborative. I'm trying to figure out the logistics. Amy says, How is this set up for your district? Do you have a website for managing that? That all of our teachers, or all of my teachers are under? Well, let me give you some background as to what I'm doing. I'm setting up, or have set up, using Credly. Let's see if I can pull that up for you and share that with you. And you can see a list of badges that have been designed to promote and encourage involvement in this professional organization known as the TESOL Arabia Education Technology Special Interest Group. Let's see if I can pull this up. Sorry about that. There we go. Where can I put this? I think I'll put it in the chat section here. There's a link to the list of badges that the organization, the volunteer organization that I'm working, that's focused on promoting professional development, is using right now. And I think we're still in early innings. But we formed a group. We've then surveyed the membership to identify needs. We've also gone and sought out professional educators, faculty of education people in the region, to pinpoint for us issues that are seen as a high priority, and that might guide us in promoting certain professional development to address those needs, and then design the badges, but actually design badges around them. And then what we're currently looking to do is designing online blended learning tutorials to address those needs. That might be a model you want to address. It might be an idea that you want to discuss with me afterwards. I can give you some details on how we went about doing that. Let's go back to some of your questions. I really want to get you more involved with this. Thanks, Amy. Comment there. How do you suggest collecting the badges in a common place? I'm really keen on the use of Credly. Seeing you say, for example, some get sent through Credly, whereas edCamp Global sent one that seems to be different. I'm new to the badges, but very intrigued. I'm really happy with Credly. It's free. It supplies everything that's required to administer a badge program, a badge ecosystem. I'm not familiar with what edCamp Global is using. There are a few others out there, and there's likely to be more in the future. Okay, how does the setup for your district? Do you have a website you manage that all of teachers are under? We use, again, we've used Credly here to administer badges. Most people set to work on earning badges at a conference, for instance, and they won't even know about Credly until the badges are awarded to them. These are typically sent to them via email. That's what we do. And it's at that time that people are made aware of the fact that they've earned a badge. And then we give them a support document that outlines for them what they can do with the badge, why the badge may be useful to them, a basic orientation. I can share that with you, probably on the Google Doc and the Titan Pad afterwards, should anyone be interested in that. Yeah, it's a brilliant question. Most of my teachers are on board. We're just trying to figure out the best way to launch this. Again, I'd have it driven more by the needs, identified needs, professional development needs of teachers in your board or in your region or whatever. Identify evidence that could be used to demonstrate how they're addressing those needs. The criteria that's drawn up for those be written in such a manner that they're essentially SMART objectives. They're measurable, they're realistic, the standard for designing SMART objectives. And once you've done that, you perhaps want to come up with a name or the naming of these badges or these. Actually, I'm trying to think of too many things here at once. Let's back up a bit here. As a group, to identify professional development needs, try to categorize them, look for common traits, try to identify what an end product might be, a form of evidence that shows you an example of a given competency. And once that competency has been identified and a set of criteria are clearly spelled out, you're in a better position to then design the given badge. You might also want to go and look to see what other institutions are doing. There's some pretty exciting things going on at the university level in the use of badges. I'm thinking of Dr. Bernard Bull. Concordia has done a fantastic job of taking a whole program and breaking it down into modules, and even within those modules, breaking them down further so that the modules is composed of a set of activities that end with which the students can then pick and choose from, those that most interest them, to then complete a set of these, to then submit as evidence to earn a given, what they call badge constellation, to actually earn a credit and eventually earn credentials for completing a given program. These are emerging. They're still early innings, but there's a lot of work still going on in that way. I'd suggest to you that Bull's work is a good model to look at. There's also some work going on at the University of Notre Dame. Here the focus has been more on soft skills, using typically things that don't get covered in the curriculum, and yet they're deemed to be just as important. You know, for instance, maybe there's an issue with students in a given district with attendance, and yet and that spilled over into becoming a problem with absenteeism or showing up to work on time. That's come out of the various employers in the region. Well, it's possible that the various employers in the region may want to be promoting the recognition of a student coming to class on time consistently with the awarding of a badge, and saying that they're really interested in finding students that have a good attendance record. I'm just throwing that out as an example. Amy's mentioned she can't see the link. You might want to check with the chat section here, and also in the shared documents that I gave you. Any other questions here? I've gotten really off task. Okay. I'm just reading Derek's comment again here. Hoping badges restructure what districts consider PD, valuing the time given by connecting educators, by honoring and accrediting their time in webinars, etc. Yes. Though a word of caution here. It should be more than attendance. It should be, the awarding of a badge should go beyond that, in my opinion. I mean, you can start out with that, a recognition of somebody taking the time or making the time to attend a webinar or an educational chat such as this. But ideally, what you'd like to do is have someone be recognized for going beyond that. to actually produce some sort of an application of what it is they've learned, and then evidencing that. And even better would be having them share that with a community of peers to get their input. So they're actually engaged in a community of practice. And that's I think the ideal. So that we're all benefiting from each other's professional development. It's going beyond simply broadcast and listen, or simply coming bums on seats and participating. I think I've covered this question before, did I not? Can digital badges empower non-connected educators to begin tapping into? Yes, that's a struggle now. I think I did speak to this earlier then, Derek. Let's see what else we've got here. Kimberly was asking me about this earlier. We've been batting the idea around of using digital badges for a couple of years in the district. I'd just like to see us move forward. I think I spoke that earlier. Kimberly, if you've got any more questions than that, feel free to connect with me. I can perhaps put you on to some online groups that you might want to follow. And my focus has been on higher education because that's the area that I'm working in. But most of the work the volunteer work that I'm doing with this association or organization of EFL instructors is voluntary, and most of that is with the K to 12 sector. So I'm familiar with the issues that exist there as well. The biggie is people being time starved. Okay, let's see if I can go through this list here. Valerie asks, my district's trying to embed badging through our LMS, Desire to Learn. I've heard of Desire to Learn, I've never used it. I'm not sure how you could go about that. I've seen people even use Google Sites to do this. It need not be complicated, very, very basic. I've forgotten the woman's name. I'm working in the education district in Maryland. Sandra Fleming, does that name ring a bell for anyone? Perhaps it does. And she's been doing a lot of work promoting the use of badges for IT skill development with elementary and even high school students in her district. And she's just been using a blog to support that. Kimberly shared with us what she does to find professional development. I pick a focus based on our evaluation system, an area in which I need to grow. I can focus from there. That's great. I brought this up earlier as just a point to ponder about the need to be focused and how it's so easy to be distracted with just a constant avalanche, waterfalls. Some suggested rapids as an appropriate metaphor for how the net is providing us with access to information and professional development opportunities. And yeah, it's a real struggle to basically get off the boat or off the river or off the rapids and say, well, where is it I really want to be? But it's proven to be very, very important, a valued skill. Okay, I'm just going through these questions. Great question from Amy here. How do you hold someone accountable after they've shown you evidence? Well, you're counting, there's a number of things in here. I've written an article on this, and you'll find it in the list of resources on further down in the Google Doc. Accountability is often seen as the Achilles heel in the use of digital badges. And a lot of these problems stem from not writing clear criteria or objectives. Another way to solve the problem is to make sure that the the badge earned actually has some relevance and some currency beyond simply earning the badge. That badge, the earning of the badge, can open the door to something else further along. I made reference to badge constellations before. Earning a set of badges that lead to demonstrating to someone that you're ready to do something else, or a battery of badges that lead you to demonstrating that you have a competency. Could be an IT competency. If somebody is found out to have earned a badge at a given competency, and then further along the line, it's discovered that they don't have the competency, it certainly calls into question that the validity of the badge. And then it calls into question, has the criteria been well written? And then it calls into question, who did the actual issuing of the badge? And that is an obstacle, and it's an area that's seen as again a weak point in this whole matter. Who has the time? Who's being held accountable for reviewing evidence such that one says that somebody has demonstrated the competencies for earning that badge? One thing that's often overlooked is the importance of baking the evidence. What does that mean, bake? It means linking the evidence to the badge itself. If you have a moment to go back and look at the badges that I've earned, I've given you access to them on through my Credly account. If you click on those badges, you will find that some of them, not all of them, most of them at least, will have a link to the evidence that was used to earn them. So even though someone may have deemed someone to have earned the badge, but someone else may differ with that, they can have access to that evidence that was used to earn the badge. Let me give you an example. Perhaps a student claims that they're really good in using MS Word, and someone has created an MS Word badge, and they've outlined the evidence that needs to be used to earn that badge, and so they go ahead and do it. Now, the badge could be earned in any number of ways. A student could be doing any number of different things using MS Word and still be able to earn the badge. The student then might want to use the earning of the badge to perhaps gain employment, an entry-level position in a local business. Well, that local business may be interested in knowing whether somebody can use MS Word to do mail merging, but it doesn't show up in the evidence. They may find that there's other people who've earned the same badge that they're interested, that are in the community, that are either high school students or recent graduates. They can go into those badges and actually see who's done what. And if the word gets back to the people that are issuing the badges, reviewing the evidence, and see that this particular business and others like it in the area really find that skill valuable, it may mean going back into redesigning the badge, or even breaking it down, granularizing it, putting together a set of smaller badges that lead up to a badge on, say, MS Word for small businesses in a given community. So the issue of accountability is addressed in some ways by not seeing the badge as a static thing, that it's evidence-based, that the issuers are receiving feedback from end users on ways in which this whole ecosystem can be improved upon. I hope that helps, Amy. Any other questions? Well, if there aren't any further questions, I'm going to invite you to go and have a look at the Google Doc. Let me just make sure that I'm not ruling anything out here. Is there anything in chat? Nothing in chat. Q&A section. I'm not sure I've got anything further. Okay. If there aren't any further questions on the topic of how badges could be used to support your professional development, then I'm going to probably leave it at that. That'll invite you a chance to get a breath of fresh air before you might want to pursue the next. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Melissa. I'm really teasing you with this. It's a big topic. If you haven't been introduced to badges, I'm sure you will. If you're not already hearing about badges being used with students in K-12, I'm sure you will. This area of it spilling over into professional development is something that you're bound to hear more and more about as well. I wish you all well. Good luck in pursuing badges, either as an earner, an issuer, or a supporter. Great. Take care. And no other questions, and I'm going to, in fact, I may invite you to still leave questions on either the Google Doc that I've provided or on the Etherpad. The link to the Etherpad can be found on the Google Docs. I'll stay a few more moments longer here to see if there are any other questions. Anything more? Okay, Amy, I'll try to do that. Can you please add the links you talked about into the Google Docs? I talked about many links, but is there any one in particular that you think stands out that would be most helpful guiding me there? You're welcome, Amy. I'm pleased to hear that it was helpful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be it for me. I wish you all a good day. Good luck with the rest of edCamp Global. Bye-bye then.